Look around you for a second. Just take it all in. Everything you see, the buildings outside, the technology running your life, even the very device you're using to listen to this explainer right now, it all began as something completely invisible. It started as a thought. Welcome. Today we're going on a bit of a journey. We're going to trace the fascinating, entirely unseen life cycle of an idea. We'll uncover how the human mind is quite literally the birthplace of every single great achievement in our history.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's honestly one of the most profound mysteries of human existence. Think about it. How does a thought, something with absolutely no physical weight, no shape, no form whatsoever, actually transform into something you can touch, feel, and experience? How does a tiny electrical impulse in your brain somehow become a thriving, massive business, a groundbreaking invention, or a fortune? Well, to figure that out, we need to look back at one of the most extensive, comprehensive studies of success ever conducted.
We're talking about a 25-year journey. Over 2.5 decades, Napoleon Hill analyzed the lives of over 500 of the absolute wealthiest, most successful minds of his era. And he did this with the guidance of the legendary industrialist Andrew Carnegie. What Hill discovered, and what he ultimately decoded into a definitive philosophy, was a game changer. He proved time and time again that all earned riches, all monumental achievements, they don't start with luck. They don't start with unfair advantages. They begin with one simple, crystal clear idea.
To really grasp the genesis of an idea, let's look at the story of a guy named Edwin C. Barnes. Now, Barnes had absolutely no money. He had very little formal education and zero influence. Nothing. But he had a thought. He made a firm decision that he was going to work not for, but with the great inventor Thomas Edison. When Barnes finally scraped together a way to get to Edison's office, he literally looked like a tramp. But Edison saw something else entirely. He saw a man who had made up his mind to stand by his thought until he succeeded. And against all odds, Barnes literally thought his way into a partnership with one of the greatest inventors who ever lived. It's living proof that thoughts really are things when they're mixed with a definiteness of purpose.
So what does this all actually mean? We hear that phrase, thoughts are things, thrown around. But how does that translate into the messy reality of our everyday lives? Let's peel back the layers and look at the underlying psychological mechanism at play here.
The core principle is basically this. Your mind is essentially a massive magnet. It actively attracts whatever dominating thoughts you permit it to hold. And here's the kicker. Nature is completely neutral. It doesn't discriminate. It will urge us to translate destructive thoughts of poverty and failure into physical reality just as quickly and efficiently as it will act upon constructive thoughts of wealth and success. Think about that for a second. Every single person is exactly where they are right now because of the dominating thoughts they've allowed to set up camp in their mind.
So the absolute crucial turning point, the catalyst, is the difference between simply wishing for success and actually being ready to receive it. Wishing is passive. It's easy. Being ready, though, that requires what Hill calls a burning desire. To develop this, you have to experience a true catalyst moment. You have to be entirely willing to burn your ships and cut off all sources of retreat. See, when you eliminate your safety net, you force your mind into a state of absolute belief, rather than just mere hope. You back yourself into a corner where you only have two options left: win or perish.
And this brilliantly illustrates the actual blueprint for how an abstract dream transitions into a concrete reality. Step 1, the thought is born in the workshop of your imagination. Step 2, that fragile thought is fueled and brought to life by an intense, burning desire. And step 3, that desire absolutely must be crystallized into practical action. It has to make the leap from the realm of daydreaming into the realm of organized, deliberate planning.
But wait, why is this so important? Why isn't just having a brilliant idea and a really strong, burning desire enough to get you to the finish line?
Well, because a desire without a plan is really just a wish. Think of it like programming your own internal GPS. Through a process called autosuggestion, which basically just means constantly, repeatedly reminding yourself of your goal until your subconscious truly believes it, you set your destination. But the organized plan, that's the actual route you take to get there. Look at Henry Ford. He didn't build a massive global empire just because he had a superior brain. Honestly, 1,000 men had way better educations than Ford. He succeeded because he adopted and relentlessly followed a sound, organized plan. Your level of achievement can simply never outgrow the soundness of your plans.
Now, once you have that plan, you enter what we can call the crucible. And this is exactly where most people fail.
An analysis of over 25,000 people who experienced failure revealed something fascinating. A lack of decision was near the very top of the list of causes. You see, people who fail are usually incredibly easily influenced by the opinions of others. But opinions are literally the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has one. If you let the noise around you paralyze your progress, you're done. True masters of their fate take a totally different approach. They reach decisions promptly, and they change them very, very slowly, if at all. They keep a closed mouth and open ears. They know that telling the world what you intend to do matters far, far less than actually showing it first.
Of course, in pursuing these decisions, you're going to hit roadblocks. You will inevitably meet temporary defeat. But remember this profound truth. Every single failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. Consider the famous story of R.U. Darby. He headed west during the gold rush, actually found a vein of gold, but then the gold just vanished. Totally discouraged, he sold his machinery to a junkman for pennies and quit. Well, that junkman was smart. He hired an engineer who realized the fault line meant the true vein was just 3 feet past where Darby had stopped drilling. Darby quit literally 3 feet from gold. The people who ultimately win in life are the ones who rebuild their plans rather than throwing in the towel. So, what actually separates the people who rebuild from the ones who quit? It's persistence. Persistence is the shield that protects your fragile thought from the ghosts of fear and doubt. Take the legendary comedian W.C. Fields. During the Great Depression, he lost absolutely everything. All his money, gone. He was past 60 years old, completely out of work, and he even suffered a brutal neck injury. To most people, that's the universe screaming at them to just give up. But Fields was relentlessly persistent. He offered to work without pay in the brand new field of movies just to stage a comeback. He kept pushing, and he got his big breaks. Not by luck, mind you, but by the sustained, agonizing effort necessary to conquer failure.
Okay, so you have the thought, the desire, the plan, the decision, and the persistence. But how do we scale this? How do you take an idea and expand it way past the physical and mental limits of just one single person?
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how you scale that power. You have to use what's called the mastermind. Think of your brain like a battery. A single battery provides a certain limited amount of energy. But if you connect a group of batteries together in a sequence, they generate a massive multiplication of power. The mastermind works the exact same way. It's the harmonious coordination of knowledge and effort between 2 or more people working toward a definite purpose. The reality is, no one individual has enough experience, education, or ability to accumulate massive success single-handedly. You absolutely must ally yourself with others to tap into a combined power that is way greater than the sum of its parts.
All of these steps, every single one of them, point back to one ultimate takeaway. You are constantly, right now, cultivating either a failure consciousness or a success consciousness. A poverty consciousness develops entirely on its own. It's like weeds in a garden. It voluntarily seizes the mind that isn't actively occupied with success. If you don't deliberately and consciously prepare your mind to attract wealth and success, it will automatically default to absorbing all the fears, the doubts, and the negative suggestions floating around in the world.
The grand realization of this entire philosophy is so simple, yet staggeringly powerful. The mind is the only thing in this entire universe that we truly, completely control. We can't control the economy, we certainly can't control other people, and we definitely can't control our external circumstances. But we can control our thoughts. Mastering your own mental state, directing it with definiteness of purpose, and shielding it with ironclad persistence, that is the true definition of growing rich. That mastery is the greatest wealth you could ever possibly attain.
You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. You have the blueprints now. You understand the mechanism. And the unseen magnetic power of thought is sitting right there inside you, just waiting for your instructions. So the only question remaining is this: what will you command your mind to create today?